So this week we are going to talk about the energy of kindness and, you know, are we kind to ourselves in our thoughts and our actions, or do we reserve that for other people? And I'm just going to look at empathy and connection to kindness as well, because compassion. Some of you might kind of confuse the two. And when I was thinking about the two, I began to wonder what the distinction was. So I just wanted to, talk to you about that tonight. If you're live watching me, say hello, please, because Facebook doesn't tell me straight away that you're there. I will be reading the cards as usual from my deck, connecting to the truth of you, which are available through my Etsy store. And then the only other thing I just need to let you know is I have got space in November to do some higher self readings. I put a post on Mondays yesterday under the business posts. So if you want to book a reading, please click on the link there. The other thing I just wanted to just say as well, if you have got a business where you are offering products or services, I'm going to try and start posting that post every Monday. Please, could you post your requirements underneath that post for me? The more we post, the more we get the money moving, and the more we're manifesting good stuff for each other. Okay, so let's crack on. I have lots of notes as well, so let's crack on. So the first thing I just wanted to talk about was the difference between empathy and kindness, because although they're related, they are not the same thing. Okay, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. So, you might have someone who's not very happy, and you can empathize with their situation and put yourself in their shoes. Kindness, however, is actually an act. Hi, Mickey, how are you? Kindness is the act of being friendly. So it's a doing thing. Friendly, generous, or considerate towards others. So, for example, you hear about your friend who's having a bad time and you offer to help them in some way, to give them um, a hand with something. Maybe they're trying to move home, you're going to help them move their stuff. Hey, Lucy. Or it might be you decide you want to give them a hug. It can be as simple as that. So kindness is an action. Empathy is a feeling. They're not mutually exclusive, but they're not mutually inclusive either. You can have one without the other. I am better, thank you, but I'm sounding, my cough is like a 50 a day smoker. I sound remarkably healthy, but it's all good, Just on an aside, like the cold and cough I got was definitely around releasing some outdated beliefs that don't need to carry in my physicality anymore. I've been doing quite a lot of work on that. And this was the quickest, most efficient way for my body to get rid of this stuff. So it's all good. Okay. So the key difference between empathy and kindness is empathy is about a feeling, kindness is an action. Empathy doesn't always result in a result, if you see what I mean. It doesn't give you a result. Empathy is about kind of going, oh, I'm sorry to hear you're going through that. But that's all it is. It's not necessarily going to change any outcomes or change the situation that the person's in. Whereas kindness doesn't require empathy in order for you to act. You don't have to understand what someone's situation is in order to say, can I help you? Or would it help you if I made a meal? Or would it help if I looked after your kid for the evening? Whatever it is that the action is you wanted to take. So kindness doesn't need empathy in order for you to take action. Okay. So when we in this group, I'm often banging on about love for you first as a principle. And the reason for that is that when you operate from that place of love for you first, which is a divine principle in Evolve You, when you're operating from that place, you understand you're not being selfish. What you understand is if you feel good in whatever you do, it creates a self-fulfilling cycle of love for you, right? And by putting yourself at the top of the agenda, you understand that when you feel your best, when you feel most loved, when you are most self loving, you can then help other people to do the same thing. And so, in this instance, empathy isn't necessarily relevant for yourself, it would be more for other people, but kindness can be. And I particularly was interested in the kindness of our thoughts towards each other, right, or ourselves. Oftentimes, when we're thinking thoughts about ourselves, we will have practice thoughts that are quite critical. One of the things I was working on with one of someone else is another domain leader, was we were looking at the way we talk to our bodies about, when we look in the mirror, oh, my hair's grey, or my tummy's too big, or God, I still look the same way, whatever it is. Like those thoughts, are they really kind to yourself? Or if you're looking at your business and you're like, oh, for God's sake, it's not doing very well. Like, is that a kind way to look at your business? Because from that, oh, for God's sake, might then generate a whole host of comments that are around your procrastination, your inability to get a job done. Look at other people, it brings in comparison. It might bring in also things like feelings of unworthiness and failure. So we need to be quite vigilant in our thoughts about ourselves. Forget other people for the time being. I want you to focus on yourselves, right? I want you to think about, what is the thing I am not very kind to myself about. And if you feel brave enough, please share it in the comments and we can talk through it. I'm always happy to do these on the spot things. And I'm going to just talk about how I've been changing how I feel about myself about a couple of things. So the first thing is my book, right? Energetics Every Day Your Way. In my world, I know quite a lot of people who've published books. And last Thursday, I was with a bunch of gorgeous women who are really good friends of mine. And one of them said to me, do you feel proud of yourself? And I was like, suppose. I was very hesitant about it. And over the weekend, one of the things I've been doing is noticing what my self talk is around my book. And some of it was a little bit around, like, well, it's not that big a deal. And, you're trying to be big headed. I was actually trying to minimize what I'd achieved. Now, I'm not saying I'm remarkable because I wrote a book. What I'm saying is it's remarkable for me to have written a book. Okay. And so, one of the things I've been doing actually is connecting in with the energy of that book, but connecting into the reason why I wrote the book. And when I do that, the kind thing that I need to think to myself is, and I have been doing, by the way, is, wow, I really translated what I wanted to say into something that's really clear. It's really simple to understand. Like if you look at my Amazon reviews on there, thank you, Lucy. If you look at the Amazon reviews, like the thing that comes across really a lot is easy to understand, clearly laid out. And that makes me feel really proud of myself. So what I've been doing is kind of going, okay, I can write a book that's clear and concise and easy to understand with little exercises that people like. And that's a kinder thought to myself than not really proud of myself, which was actually minimizing and almost flicking away the achievement. I was kind of pushing it away. And then the other area that I've been really looking at is how I regard my physicality. So I've done a lot of work over the last 30 years. I've been in the holistic world around my weight, understanding it, and there's more to do because I haven't lost all my excess weight yet. But in the last month, I've really kind of last no 2 months, I've really understood some quite big things that I didn't understand. One was to do with how my energy, how my body has supported my soul energy, which I will talk about another time. But also, it was how And this is where I wasn't being kind. I wasn't unkind, but I wasn't kind to myself. I was maybe looking in the mirror and all I could see was the bad choices I'd made when it came to food, and bad choices I'd made, say, towards when I had a fracture or when I had, um, falls or whatever in the past. And so every time I looked at my body, I felt some regret. I didn't feel the love for my physicality. Now, if you don't feel love for your physicality, it is really difficult to energize health and a healthy body, right? Because you're stuck in regret. And I wasn't being deliberately unkind to myself, and I wasn't being not kind to myself, but I was stuck in this thought cycle of, I would look at myself in the mirror, I'd be like, oh God, my poor body. And then I would run through a set of events or decisions I'd made, growing up in response to what I was experiencing. And I would not relive them, but I'd be like, oh, I wish I'd made better decisions. And then I'd go, oh, so and so in that situation made a different decision to me, and that looks like a better thing to do. And so this wasn't kind to myself, right? And so one of the things I've been working on in a really gentle but persistent way is actually celebrating my body and being um thoughtful and mindful of my thoughts so that I am kind in what I'm saying to it. And one of the things I've been saying to my body is, I'm so proud of you. And because kindness is an action, I've been taking action. And the action I've been taking is I have started to do with consistency um, small things, small alterations in my daily activities that actually support my body. So a simple example, I was telling my friends this last Thursday, a simple example is how I brush my teeth now. So before I'd be like brushing my teeth and I've got to brush my teeth and go off and rush off and do something or go to bed, whatever it was. Now actually I'm brushing my teeth really mindfully, and I'm just taking the time to look after my mouth, to think positive thoughts about my gums and what my teeth do and what my tongue does, and all those things. But the action, which is kind, is the mindful toothbrushing. Another action I'm taking to support my pride in my body and what it's been doing for the last 30 years and how it's supporting, well, actually my whole life, and how it's been supporting me, is I've started a little movement routine that I do at least once a day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. It takes me 10 minutes. Do you know what? I can feel how my body's responding to it. And if I miss it, so last Thursday, because I was rushing out the door, I didn't get to do it till the evening. But all day I could feel my cells going, when are we going to do our movement? When are we going to do our movement? When are we going to do our movement? Because that action is the kindness my body wants from me, right? So it's not about, kindness can be in the smallest of actions that you take for yourself. So I want you to have a think, is there anything that you are struggling with that we can help you identify some kind actions to take? Okay. Now, when it comes to other people, kindness is, you've all been kind. I'm absolutely sure that everyone in this community has been kind, because that's the kind of people I would attract into my group. But you'll be kind because you lend a hand, because you leave a voice note for someone and say, how are you doing? You might make a meal or buy a bunch of flowers or put something in a group going, I think this person's amazing. You should use their services. Or those of you who've recommended my book to your friends and your family or to your book clubs, again, that's an action of kindness, right? These are all really lovely acts of kindness that you're doing. So I want you to think about, is there someone whom you could do something kind for? Now, there is also, and most of you will have heard about this, the pay it forward thing, where you basically take an action. So you hear of people having bought coffee for the person who's going to come after them at a coffee shop, or it actually started as an initiative for people buying a meal for people in the States in the 1990s, I think it was. But it's the pay it forward movement. That's a really common one. If you see a homeless person and you stop to talk to them and find out what they eat, that stopping and talking is a kindness, right? Sometimes, one of the things I make a point of doing is when I see elderly people, I always smile and say good morning, because sometimes that is the only time they will have spoken to someone in their day, because they live alone and they have no one to talk to. I always say thank you to a bus driver, because again, it's a kindness. They've helped me get from A to B. I want to say something to acknowledge that. A lot of people don't thank bus drivers anymore. When I was growing up in the 70s, everybody did, but nowadays it's quite old hat, right? So there are lots of different ways in which you can be kind to other people. And why should you be kind? Um, yeah, they're great, aren't they? Random acts of kindness. And it's that smile you see on someone's face, that delight that you see. One of my friends, she runs a cafe in northwest London, and she had to take some really difficult decisions. And my random act of kindness was to buy her a bunch of flowers and just go, I'm so proud of what you did there. That was hard. I wouldn't want to have to do that. Well done, you, right? And her face, like that acknowledgement that someone had noticed, made such a difference to her. Now, the thing about these acts of kindness is actually it has a positive effect on you, both physiologically and psychologically. So, psychologically, it makes you feel good, it gives you a boost of happy hormones, and you also can feel your self worth improving, because in that kindness, you are showing people their worthiness, but you're also showing that I am able to give out that kind of worthiness, right? Then there's the positive self-talk that comes from when you're kind about yourself. So I've already touched on that in how I talk about my body, but it's also, I noticed one of the outcomes of this consistent action I'm taking with my body is I find that I'm talking positively to myself about movement in general. I'm talking more positively about what I can achieve physically. I find um, also, I've noticed it knocks on into other areas because it's building confidence, and then that confidence is kind of seeping into other areas of my life. So there's the self worth aspect. There's also the positive self talk. The other thing that's, I think, a real kindness is to forgive yourself for the mistakes you made in the past. So when I talk about my body stuff, that's essentially what I've been doing, is kind of letting go of those decisions I made. Hey, Lisa. Yeah, random acts of kindness are lovely, aren't they? I've let go of the decisions I made as a young person or as a teenager, um, because they don't serve me anymore. So I've been forgiving myself for those decisions. I'm sure being kind to myself, I have to cut them off because of. I struggle with being kind to myself if I have to cut them off because, oh, I see. I end up feeling bad about myself. Yeah, but here's the thing, right, Lucy? If you were inhabiting and really believing love for me first, you wouldn't struggle with it. It is not kind or loving for you to constantly put up with people who are not being nice to you, right? It is what kindness does in this instance would help you set really strong, firm boundaries. Um, for me, that has definitely been something I've had to do with some really close family members. I've had to put in some really strong boundaries. I'm really careful about what I share with them. And even with my book, they were quite hurtful, right? It made me think, is this love for me first to share this stuff with them? No, it's not. So I kind of had to pull down the drawbridge, as it were, and just kind of go, what's the kindest thing for me to do? It's actually to stay away from them and not share it with them. So I really want you to look at, when you're struggling, what is the belief here that you've got? Because just because they're struggling and disconnected is no excuse for their poor behavior. You understand that's what's causing it, but it doesn't mean you have to take it. So, Lucy, I would really encourage you to kind of understand, what is the belief you have that's underpinning your struggle. That's what you need to understand and let go of. Doing that by taking, yeah. Okay, so you thought you were doing an act of kindness for you and work by taking voluntary redundancy, therefore everyone is happy. However, they've offered you something that shows they don't care. Right, so here's the thing, right? It is an act of kindness for you, and it's love for you first, most definitely, Nikki, right? They are in a really different energy space to you, number one. Number two, they've offered you something that shows they don't care, except you're an epic manifester. So you're going to go back to them with a boundary, a new boundary, and you're going to go, given my service record, given how long I've been here, given how much I've done for you, this is not acceptable and I would not accept it. This is what I want. And if you're prepared to give me this number, I'm happy to walk away, right? They will always try to get away with paying you the least amount. And I imagine what they're offering you is the minimum statutory voluntary redundancy package. But you can still go back to them and you can do this. You can energize that figure, make sure you feel really good about that figure, energize it, use your SIPs, and then also talk to your team about how to energetically communicate to these people that they're having a laugh and they're not being respectful or kind to you. Okay. Not even, well, they have to offer at least that if they're going to um might offer you statutory. I would also, Mickey, I'm getting a prompt to say to you, contact ACAS to find out what you would be entitled to, because that will give you a good place to start from. All right. Just look up ACAS, ACAS, and they'll be able to tell you. I feel like when I was younger, I was feeling sort of, yeah, yeah. So absolutely. Like I know that thing of, as women, you're often brought up as a girl as to put other people's feelings before you. Actually, I think there's more to this, Lucy, than just that. I think you need to look at why are you not good enough to be inhabiting love for me first? Like, what is your challenge there? What is getting in the way for you? And I say this with lots of love. I'm not trying to challenge you, but I'm trying to get you to understand that it's almost like you're flirting with the idea of love for me first, and you've got to actually start living love for me first. So you start small, right? And this is where kindness actually fits in with love for me first. So small is things like um you deciding that, supposing you're supposed to go out and you're really tired and you really don't want to go, love for me first would be postpone what you're going to do, take some time, be at home and rest, right? And recover. That is love for you first. Love for you first is saying, I'm going to take up a new hobby that fills me with joy, which means I don't have time to put up with this stuff. That's okay. That's love for me first because it feeds me in the most loving, beautiful way. Love for me first would be making different choices when you come to food that support your body, that help you have energy, all those kind of things. I don't know if you've heard of superfoods. You might want to see if you can receive on what your superfoods are, which will help really support your body. So that's my challenge to you, Lucy, is like, what is your reluctance, or why is there a reluctance for you to inhabit and live love for me first, number one. And number two, I'm going to say to you, because of where you are energetically, you're miles ahead of the people you were talking about before. But because of where you are now, that feeling of others come before me, it is old energy that's not aligned to who you are now. So why and again, this is to go back to your energy and see if you can receive on this. You can ask your team, if you know your family of origin, your higher self, whomever you want to do this with. You say to them, why am I hanging on to this? What is the benefit for me from hanging on to this old, outdated idea? I did something similar, and like there was a benefit because it felt familiar and it felt safe and it was comfortable. It wasn't actually good for me, but it felt comfortable. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, you got a union rep, Mickey. Marvelous. Let them do their work. I'm sure they will fight vigorously for you. You can energize your union reps energy so that they're in tip top form. So I feel like you could flow unconditional love to them via your higher self to their higher self and then onto the human. You can fill them with ease and soothing, and an energy of fairness so that everybody gets their fair rewards and their fair redundancies. So you can help energize your union rep that way. If you need some help with that, message me and I'll help you with that. So we've covered quite a bit. Just to bring it back, I want you to just think about, all of you, if you're watching this on replay, do say hashtag replay in your comments. But what I really want you to think about is, am I being kind to am I being kind to myself? And if not, what action can I take to start being more kind to yourself? So as a physical human, that might be sleeping more. So it could be either you need to sleep in or go to bed earlier, or resting more. There's a difference between rest and sleeping. Okay. You might want to do, as a physical human, you might need to change your eating habits. All of you know I went vegetarian for a while. It's, all those kind of things. So that was love for me first, for example. You might want to take up some kind of exercise, or you might need to go and get some advice from another professional. I know one of our group has some skin problems. They were trying to fix them, just wasn't getting fixed. So that actually they received that they needed to go and see a herbalist about that problem, right? So that's love for me first, and that's being kind. Making that appointment to go and see that person, that is an act of kindness. Because in that act of kindness, you're saying, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy, right? So I want you to really think about that. And when you are taking these small, consistent actions to help yourself, I want you to celebrate those little wins, right? So I have been consistently moving my body for about 2 weeks now. And so every time I get up to do that, I'm like, yes, right? It's only to me I'm celebrating. I'm not celebrating with chocolate or anything. I'm celebrating by praising myself, by encouraging myself. And the other thing that happens when you perform an act of kindness for yourself, you're rewriting some of the old patterns you have, some of the doom patterns, some of the cognitive cycles of thought patterns. You're rewriting them, you're literally breaking them and writing them. So you want to be thinking about, how can I celebrate my little wins? Some of you might need a star chart. Excuse me, which seems a bit childish, but you'll need that visual. Woo-hoo. Some of you are going to be enough with words of affirmation to yourself. And some of you are going to need to buy yourself a little prize every month or every 2 weeks or whatever it is when you've achieved something. Okay. So it could be, you say, if I've done it, I could say to myself, if I've done a month of my little routine every day consistently, I'm going to buy myself a new purse or some jewelry or some new clothes, whatever it is that I think that I deserve. So how are you going to celebrate your little act of kindness as well? When you're being kind to other people, one of the things you can do is actually keep a note of it. And the reason I want you to keep a note of it is because then you can start building gratitude for it. Gratitude that you had the forethought to offer some kind of act of kindness to someone. Gratitude that you are able to be kind to someone. Gratitude that it feels good to be nice to someone else and do an act of kindness for them. And in your gratitude, you are raising your vibrations. You've got the act of kindness, which is a lovely thing to do. I'll give you a dopamine hit and then a serotonin hit, and then you've got this gratitude going alongside it. It's a really powerful combination, and you're just going to build and build and build vibrationally. And what happens then is you get nice little manifestations occurring. You get your overall mood stays higher. You find that opportunities or possibilities start appearing. And all of this is because you did an act of kindness consistently, you've noticed it, you felt gratitude for it, and you've raised your vibration. It's as simple as that, right? So I want you to also celebrate your wins. Okay, so for little Lucy, right? This is really pertinent, okay, Lucy, because um you need to sort of ask little Lucy, what does she need in order to integrate with the rest of you? Little Lucy is from your past when life was really hard for you. For a variety of reasons, life was hard. So, why is little Lucy still experiencing that hurt? And how can we help her integrate into new grown up Lucy who is happier, who is more peaceful, who has great boundaries? You just said he's not stepping up, so I had to walk away. That's beautiful love for me first, because you had a boundary. I need you to be this way in order for us to be in contact, in a relationship, whatever it was. And you didn't. It was an act of kindness for yourself, right? So this is what I would go back to little Lucy and say, what do you need from me in order to integrate into this new version? Because I will always love you. I will always be grateful for your resilience, your strength, your wisdom when we were little and we didn't know any better, but somehow we managed to get through. So, what can I do for you, little Lucy, that will allow you to not be scared anymore, to know that we are loved, we are profoundly loved, we are safe, we are completely and totally safe. We are looked after by our team in a way that we've never been looked after. And what can I do to help you feel better? That's the conversation I would have with her, because where you are energetically, I don't think you should still be feeling her pain in this way, in such a dramatic way. Sorry, this cold's giving me very itchy ears. So yeah, so this is where we're talking about kindness, okay? This is a really good example. Walking away from a poor relationship, that is a kindness to yourself. So that is all for tonight, my lovely friends. If you would like more to know more about anything I've talked about tonight, or you need help with specific things, as I said, I've got more room to do some higher self readings in the next month. So please book in. There's a link on yesterday's business post. Otherwise, I can put a link in here. If you have bought the book, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. As if you finished reading it, please do put a review onto Amazon. It helps me a great deal to have reviews. And if there's anything else you would like me to help you with, drop me a line and we can arrange a time. You can do a free discovery call to see how is the best way for us to work together. Sending you all lots of love and hopefully seeing you next week. Take care now.